then I will be sharing the recording to the public, and it will also be on our YouTube channel. So for those of you who don't know, we have a YouTube channel, and you can watch all of our webinars there. We have a lot of, well, we're starting to build up our content on the YouTube channel. And so if you guys miss our webinars, or if you guys want to, watch our past webinars, they're all there. So yeah, so thank you everyone for your time today. Usually Martin does the webinar, so I might be an unfamiliar voice to some of you. Some of you guys I might have worked with, or some of your colleagues I might have worked with. So my name is Lawin, and I'm a business development manager here at NETRONIC. Where's my profile page? So this is me. So I typically handle our customers from the UK, Ireland, Italy, Africa, and basically everywhere east of Germany up to New Zealand. So normally you find me awake at very strange times in the morning to handle our customers from that part of the world, from the far end of the world. But yeah, so you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and if you have any questions about the product, even if you're not part of this area that I handle, I can easily direct you towards the right person. Yeah, so actually the big question is, why is actually NAV still relevant? So normally what we've been doing for the past year is probably, if you guys have been to our webinars, we do a lot of webinars about Business Central. We talk about our latest products. We talk about the VAPS, which is our Visual Advanced Production Scheduler. But in general, we still have our NAV products, but we don't really present about them anymore, although they're still there. And to be honest, there's a lot of customers, a lot of partners who still kind of have requirements based on NAV. And we've actually recently done a survey for 2020. This is more about manufacturing, unfortunately, so not really about jobs, but in general. So if you guys are a partner, this information might be relevant to you. But we found out that actually 2 out of 3 of the people who we surveyed who claim to be either a NAV customer or a Business Central customer, basically they fall under a pool of our a category of our in our CRM platform, and they said that actually 2 out of 3 of them are still on NAV. So we see slowly but surely people are moving to Business Central, but we also found out through this survey that actually majority of these people will be moving in the next 3 years. And there will be actually a minority who will be migrating after these 3 years, or maybe they don't really have plans of migrating at all. So probably you guys know the pain. I'm sure you have some, customers that don't want to invest, or maybe there's too much customizations that has been done to their current ERP solutions that they find it too much of a hassle to actually move forward with Business Central. And actually, for a lot of countries that I handle towards Asia, there's actually still a lot of places that don't have localizations yet, or are they still being built? So, but yeah, obviously that's just a matter of time. But in general, we still find our products in NAV still relevant. I still get once in a while people ask me, "Oh, do you have actually any visual scheduling solution for NAV 2009?" So, so imagine it's already 2021, but obviously there's still people on NAV 2009. So, yeah, so we thought it would be pretty interesting to actually present again our NAV product. So, today it will be more about the job scheduler. And actually on Thursday we'll be having the one for the visual production scheduler. And while you guys are here, I just wanted to invite you all next week, especially if you're a partner or you're in manufacturing. This might be very, very interesting for you. So we have our third NETRONIC Next event, and that will be about the state of Business Central and manufacturing. So that was the survey that we did last year. We made it into a report, and we'll actually be presenting these results in a roundtable discussion with a bunch of experts from other organizations who focus on Business Central manufacturing. So you can register on our website, and also if you look on our LinkedIn page, you'll find it on the events portion of our LinkedIn page. If you're not following us on LinkedIn, so this is your cue to follow us on LinkedIn. So yeah, so now let's get into NAV and actually the visual job scheduler. So where do we come in? So for those of you who don't know, our company, we make visual scheduling solutions. We help with the planning a bit, but more about visual scheduling. And the whole goal of this visual scheduling is actually to achieve a sort of equilibrium. So what is this equilibrium that we talk about? It's literally about your resources, the supply of the resources and the demand for your resources. So that's the allocation of your resources to certain jobs, to certain job planning lines, as you know, or in general, just, if they need to do something, then you have something allocated for these resources. So the idea here is that you want to have a balanced kind of a balanced organization wherein your resources aren't doing too much, but they're not doing too little. So in a way that you don't have you don't have problems with unions, you don't have problems with overtime or whatever, and you make sure your people don't are not bored to death because they're not doing anything. So this is the whole idea of our product in layman's term. We want to help you guys achieve some sort of equilibrium with your resources. In general, in terms of the data that you would need in order to use our products, it's quite simple. First of all, our product is fully integrated with Navision. That being said, we take a lot of that data that you actually already put in Navision, such as the resource part. So all of your resources, your calendars, resource groups, or whatever. So as long as you have this set up on Navision, we can actually pull that data and visualize that on our scheduler. And that's for the supply. That's the equilibrium we're talking about. So we take those information about your resource groups and your resources from Navision. And obviously they would need to have some sort of calendar, some sort of capacity with them for us to be able to really allocate jobs to them. So in terms of the demand side of things, what we actually are looking at is the job planning lines. So whenever you create a job, I'm sure you guys know this, but it's part of your skeleton of your job that you have a job, maybe you have a task, and then you have your job planning line. And the job planning line is actually that quantity that you're supposed to assign to a resource. So it's the when, the who, and the how long. So how long a particular task would run, and to who would that particular task be assigned to, and when would that task actually start, and when would that end. So these are the information that we would need. So pretty basic to just use our product. So yeah, so it's fully integrated again with the resource module. What we give you is really a drag and drop front end to standard jobs and the resource modules. So it's available for NAV and BC. So I put here. So this was a slide I got from an earlier presentation for BC, but I obviously put the emphasis on and still available for NAV. And it's available for NAV from NAV 2009 R2 until the most recent NAV version, which I guess is 2018. So in general, what we give you is this front end. So again, we take that data that you have on NAV and we show it on our scheduler, and we give you the ability to actually drag and drop that data. We give you the ability to see everything. So instead of working inside tables, you know how it is with NAV, you're just working always within one table. What we actually give you is the ability to kind of compare your different tables in like a neat way, and a way that it's very easy to understand what's actually going on in your organization. So this is a screenshot of what we call the resource module for NAV, and this gives you an idea of what we do. So this is just an intro, of course, but you'll already see here, I can easily see all my different resources. I can see my resource groups. I'm seeing all the job planning lines that's assigned to them. But imagine if I would have to open up my different cards, my different job planning lines, just to see and compare who's doing what when. And that's really a difficult task, actually, and that takes a lot of time from your planners. But what we give them is really this front end to really manage those information to a more efficient way. So just to give you guys an idea, in general, we see a lot of our VJS customers to be these engineering to order companies. Normally they have kind of like, maybe they build something, but in general, it's more for them to allocate jobs to people who are actually in maintenance or installation or these kind. This is like the most typical use case we see. So it's like, maybe it's a construction company, maybe it's an engineering company, but in general, I'd say the biggest use case that we see is for this. Obviously, there are other companies like software companies, like other maybe you're an marketing company who would also be able to use our product, and also like consulting or whatever. So um, obviously those are also customers of ours, but this is just like the most typical scenario that we see. So normally that process of an engineering company, you have like a project lead, you have your technical people, and then you have maybe like a production team or an assembly team. And then once you have your products built or ready, then you have a team that actually goes on site and actually implements these products on site to your customer. So that's the most typical scenario that we look at. So now let's look a bit at what the VJS looks like, and not my slides. So for those of you who have not seen the VJS on NAV yet, this is how it looks like. I'll give you guys a brief overview of how it all works. In general, you have your jobs, your different jobs here. You have them categorized by their status. Basically, what you're seeing here is this table of yours, your jobs table. And as you can see already, our product is really built inside of business and inside of NAV. So this is what you would normally see if you open up your jobs table. But we're showing you actually already these jobs plotted out into the different dates that they're supposed to be started and ended. No, so what we're showing you is basically the start date and the end date of when your jobs finish. In general, we didn't modify any. We didn't add any fields on here, but we're just taking out the most important details that are your job, the end start date of your job tasks. If you put a start and end date of your job, and at the same time, most importantly, we take note of the job planning lines that you have under each of your tasks. So that's the information that we're getting. And as you can see, again, I can simply search for my visual job scheduler and it would show up here. If I want to work with different filters, for example, I'm managing a really big company, or I have several planners in my company, then I can kind of make filters for everybody. And just to show you what that looks like here, I can filter down to a job or to a resource, and really just see what I want to see. But in the beginning, let's look at all my data again. So right, so now I can see my time frame on top. I can set up the time frame I want to see. Right now, I think I set it up as -1 month and 12 months forward. So basically, I'm looking at the whole year and 1 month backward, and I can see when my jobs start and end, and then I can actually, if I hover my mouse over anything I see here, then I'm seeing more information about those jobs. So I can see more information here. I can see more information here. I can zoom in to these uh, this time frame on top to as granular as I want. And then what I can do is actually I can expand or collapse this, so I can, if I want to see, maybe I want to see the skeleton of my job, want to see how it's set up. So actually, this is a pretty complex job. So I have a lot of like moving parts here. I have so many different resources who are part of each task. And basically that's because also here, that's actually what my job looks like. So this is just this data that we presented in a very, very nice way. And instead of making individual changes here to your planning lines or whatever, here it's just all about dragging and dropping. As I mentioned, this is a drag and drop front end. So, it's just all about dragging and dropping. So this is a pretty complex job, but I actually, for the sake of this webinar, I created a very simple job just for you guys to understand what's really going on. So this is a job I created. It's called template webinar. And I can see already when that job starts and when that job ends. I can see also the different tasks that's part of those jobs. So I made it quite simple. I only have 4 tasks underneath it, which already equate to different job planning lines. So I know that I have a 20-hour job planning line, which is like initiate that project, which is for my project managers. So I know that has to happen within 20 hours. I know that the next step would be to get my hardware engineers in the picture, maybe build whatever is needed. And then, I don't know why I wrote this, create the code, but basically we have some software engineers in the company as well who I wanted to get involved in the project. And the last step is the actual on-site installation. And that I see quite easily when my project starts, when it ends, who is involved, when are those people involved, and how many hours are needed from them. And as I put my mouse on different elements on this Gantt chart, then I see more information. So I know that for the second, for the building, the structure, I need these guys. So these are actually, this weird thing here. This is a workaround we did to the resource group. So with a VJS, you're actually able to assign job planning lines to your group level. So it could be seen as some sort of placeholder for you to later on assign these job planning lines from your resource group to the individual resources. So that's the idea here. But I can see that there's 16 hours that's assigned to the hardware group, hardware engineer group, and so on and so forth. So that's how that looks like. What I could also do is I have this that thing underneath, which are basically the capacity of my different resources. So as I move my mouse from one resource to another, because this is my one resource, this is my hardware specialists. So I see below the used and unused capacity of my hardware specialists per day. So that's how it kind of works. And as I move my mouse over another resource, then I also see that change. So yeah, so that's what we call the job view. And maybe I want to go back to my slides. So I'll be switching a little bit through my slides. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I see more people joined. Welcome. I was just mentioning, if you just joined recently, if you guys want to watch it from the beginning, there will be this will be posted on YouTube, the recording of this, and you'll be able to easily see the parts that you missed out on. So, I was supposed to go back to my slides. So in general, that was like a very quick overview of what a job would look like on our scheduler. And these are some scenarios that we can look at. So some important things that you need to kind of take into consideration is working with templates and mapping out your actual job. So it's important to actually know the when and the who, and maybe later on you can fine tune it to your liking. But so let's go back into the slides, to nav. So from here, what are the different things I can do? So I can, first thing, I can split job planning lines. So I can easily say that, oh, actually, I want to split this and make it, I don't know, 12, 12 and 8 or whatever. So I now split this job. Maybe I want to give like a break in between. So that happens. And you'll also notice that there are these lines here. What are these lines? So these lines are actually links that we created. So these links are not on your standard nav, but these links are saved in our on the VJS. So these are links that create dependencies between your job planning lines, or even between my job tasks or between my jobs. So I can say that actually this job planning line needs to happen before this job, because they're actually the same job which I just split up. So this guy could do something else. On the 4th of February, I can easily delete links. I can create links. So I can also say, actually, this job. So if I right click on an empty space, I have 3 modes basically: for marking and dragging, for creating links, or for creating job planning lines. So let's see. I want to save. So whenever you make some drag and drop changes, actually, what happens is that um, it's not automatically saved on nav. You would have to save it, or you have the option of reloading the data to kind of undo it. So that's something I didn't mention. So what I can do is I can say, oh, actually, this job is dependent on this. So I can create this link here, and later on, when I would actually start moving this job, it kind of will show me that this actual link is broken, because this is starting before this one ends. So obviously it's supposed to start after this ends. So if I move that back here, then um, that link now becomes blue again. So now if I keep moving that, then you'll see the other job move. So as you noticed, I was moving this job a lot, and you'll notice also that there are these red um, outline for my job planning lines. So what this means is that I've made some drag and drop changes on my VJS, but actually this data has not been saved back to my nav data yet. So then now I have the choice to either save or reload. For this example, let's say I want to reload, and no, I don't want to save the changes I made. So we wanted just to go back to where it was earlier, but maybe we can still create that link. So um so I showed you how to split a job, uh and I showed you how to create links. Another thing you can do is I can also change the quantity of a job planning line from here. So I can just, by doing this, so if you notice, like, the mouse looks different. So it's like this two-way mouse. If I put it on the edge, it actually looks like a one-way mouse. And as I drag and drop, you'll actually see the changing ending date. So from, it's now a 16-hour job. If I do it here, it becomes a 24-hour job. And it's just basically taking into consideration the 8-hour calendar, or the 8-hour capacity that's available on that day. Or I can actually also hold shift. What is it? Shift and control. And from here, I can also change the job job planning line quantity. One question you guys might have is that, what's this gray area here? What's this white area here? So those are actually my weekends. So I have the option of hiding these weekends or showing them. So right now I'm showing them, but I could also hide them. If I hide them, they only hide um, the weekends or the non-working days that's shared between your resources. So if you have some resources that have kind of weird calendars or non-regular calendars, then he will still show some gray areas on the background. So for this example, let's keep the weekends. So this is what we call the job view. So the job view, this is more about scheduling your jobs, scheduling your job planning lines, scheduling your job tasks, creating these links or whatever. But this is less about actually capacity planning for your resources. And the capacity planning of your resources would actually happen on your resource view. So obviously that makes sense. First thing that you'll see here is you see these red things. These red things are the number of job planning lines that are assigned to these what we call virtual resources, which are actually resources that represent your resource group. So these are your unassigned project manager job planning lines. What it's saying is that I currently have 28 unassigned job planning lines. So I can also do this. I can expand it, and what it's showing me is it's showing me these 28 job planning lines that's assigned to it. I can see what job it's from. I can see what job task that planning line is under, and also the description. So I can kind of see what tasks those are. So that also might give me a better understanding of who actually among my project managers should be doing what. So let's look first at this example that I made. So this, keep your eye on this purple thing. So when I click on one job planning line, it will kind of show me a yellow outline on the other job planning lines that fall under the same job. So I know that this is connected to this, to this, to this, to this because of that outline. So again, this is the 28 number here. If I would drag this down here, that number becomes 27. If I move that back here, it becomes obviously 28 again. And if you would also notice the histograms, or the what we call like your capacity curves underneath, they're also on this view. So as I move from one resource to another, it's giving me the used and unused capacity of each resource. And what I can do is actually I can right click on my resource. I can say fixate that histogram, so that even if I move over my other resources, then that histogram underneath won't change, and it sticks to just the project manager. So I can actually see here that the project managers group, they have been managed pretty well, because none of them have none of them are over capacity, at least in this day. And if I go even to the right, I don't see any issues with like red markings on my capacity curve or on my histogram. And even on these days, so I see here that this has no job planning lines under it, but because this is my resource group, it's taking into consideration also what Carl and Steve are actually doing under, because they're also project managers. So I see that there's some used capacity for what day is this? The 11th, and there's some used capacity on the 15th, and that's because Carl is actually doing this. You'll see here some job planning lines with this is the postings. So these are actually already finished, so you won't see them show up as used capacity. So that's the resource view. You can also, obviously, you don't just move it from left to you don't just reassign it from one resource to another, but you can also move it from left to right. And obviously, if you have links created, then obviously that would also move your other job planning lines to the right if you make any drag and drop changes on the resource view. So yeah, so I had this like show postings, hide postings as well. And actually here I can see it's telling me how many hours of that these job planning lines with another colored bar has been posted. So I know this one, 8 hours, actually 8 hours is already finished. And this is also 8 hours here, I can see. And that also yeah. So basically that doesn't really eat up my capacity for my resource group, but that would still show up on the capacity of my resource. So yeah, this is what we call the resource view. Pretty straightforward. It's more like playing now with data. It's not as stressful as it is if I were to, fix the calendars of my resources on standard nav, or it wouldn't be as stressful as changing the dates on my, or changing the allocations on my standard nav card. So if I would need to change stuff, I would need to go into the job planning line card. I would have to select who I want that to be assigned to, without actually understanding what impact that would have on my other jobs, or my other job planning lines, or my other job tasks. So that is the beauty of the VJS. Yeah, so maybe I can show you guys how to create new jobs, and this is because I made this example, this this template webinar. You can actually also create new obviously, you know this, you can create new jobs from um, existing jobs. So I'm using this as a template, but I just wanted to show you what happens if I create a new job and how would that look like actually on the VJS. So let's do that. So I can create a new job. Let's save the changes I've made, and I would create a new job here. Let's give it also to Candoxy Canada, and I will copy the jobs from, where is that template webinar of mine? This is the template webinar, and I want to start from the first task to the last task, and I want to also copy the quantity. So that's the new job I have, and now we have created a new job. We can go back to the VJS, Visual Job Scheduler. And yeah, so I was playing around with it earlier, so there's a demo job, but this is the new job that we created. I think I didn't put a description, but in general, I copied as well the different quantities for the job planning line, so that's why I see it here. But if you create a new job, you would either just need to go to the VJS, or you can also hit the refresh button if it doesn't show up. But in general, that's yeah, that's how simple it is to create a new job on the Visual Job Scheduler, especially if you make use of templates. So I mentioned earlier in my slides that it's important to kind of understand your internal processes, and from those internal processes, maybe narrow down to creating some templates, even though they're not perfect, or they're not the reality. At least it gives you a step forward in terms of scheduling from scratch, or creating a new template. So maybe that's not the case. It's not really like this, but then I can go into the VJS and manually change that. So maybe actually for this job it's the same customer, but maybe this is actually longer, or I can split that as well and assign a new resource to whatever, to Steve Johnson. And maybe I want 32 to be kept to my project managers group, but I want 8 hours to be given to Steve Johnson, because I don't know, Steve Johnson is good at initiating projects, and he knows the people from the engineering team very well. So I can do that. And actually here, oh, it's the other way around, but Steve Johnson gets the 32 hours and 8 hours is left to my project manager. So I have 8 hours unassigned, but I assigned those 32 hours to Steve Johnson. So as simple as that. And that's a lot easier than actually going from card to card, creating new job planning lines, checking out my other jobs to see how would that actually impact this new job planning line I'm creating, or this new job that I'm actually modifying. So I think it's not perfect, but it's a big step ahead. And you saw it. I split the job planning line, and already this link is already created between the two job planning lines. So that's saying that after the 8 hours of unassigned job planning line, then the 32 hours of Steve Johnson can start. So that's how to build new jobs with templates, and that's how to use the VJS later on to kind of help you fine tune those new jobs that you create. And obviously, again, you have that option of also playing around with the duration. So one thing I wanted to share with you guys is what happens if I actually change a resources calendar or a resources schedule. So I already made an example here, so I don't need to manually do it. But here I see that in general, my resources have a 5-day work shift. Each day has an 8-hour shift. And I see that this guy Steve Johnson has a weird looking week here on the uh, last week of February. So he actually he's working on Saturday for some weird reason, but on Thursday and Friday he's off. So that works in a way that if I would try to assign actually job planning lines to him, um, he doesn't have any capacity. So let's fixate the histogram on Steve. And I can see here, it's turning red. It's showing me that it's red because he does not have capacity on these days, even though normally that would be a Friday and a Thursday where he would have capacity. And if I put it on the Saturday, you would see it's kind of grayed out, but actually it doesn't show up as red here. That's because he has 8 hours capacity there. So if I would move that now to Carl, it became 0. So if you move it too fast, like it sometimes becomes it could change the quantity. Oh, because it's fixated to Steve, so that's why it's not changing. But if I move now to Carl, then I see that Carl's Saturday, because he doesn't work on Saturday, that turns red. So because it's fully integrated with your resource module, if you change anything on the capacity of your resource, if you go into your planning and you would change your resource availability or your capacity, then that would be taken into consideration on the actual calendar here. So, if you want to log in some vacation days or whatever on your calendar, don't worry, that would be taken care of on the visual job scheduler. A few more things I can share before I go back to my slides is that on the VJS, you're also able to have this histogram view. The histogram view is a overview of your the different histograms of each resource and your resource groups. So I can easily identify on a by being given an overview which of my resources are problematic. You can see here that I have some issues with Steve. Steve on a certain week on February, he's doing too much work. Actually, also on a weekend, he's doing too much work. And that's reflecting on my project manager resource group as well. So we can go into the resource view, take a look at what's wrong with Steve. Let's release the histogram from Carl. And actually, I see the issue with Steve is that he's doing too much, but in reality, because we gave him a 32-hour, we gave him a new 32-hour job planning line. So that's gonna cause some problems there. But yeah, so we can save that. And maybe if we now go back to the histogram view and look at what Steve is doing. Oh, something happened. Normally happens when you're trying to present something to other people. If you guys have any questions, feel free to use the chat. I'll be checking out the chat in a bit to see if anyone wrote something. I see a question. How much does the visual job scheduler cost roughly? Yeah, so the pricing I can send you later, but in general, I'm in US. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure about the pricing in USD, but I'd say on average, in euros, it's around 4,000 euros. That's I'd say the average price. But I can send you the details and we can talk about that later. So what were you talking about? So we were looking at the histogram view. We were looking at the histogram view of Steve, and I can see actually now, earlier we saw that there was really a spike of uh, overloaded capacity on Steve Johnson, but now we were sort of able to alleviate that overload on Steve's weekend in February. So I think I was able to save before it crashed. So that's a bit how to use the VJS in terms of on how to use the histogram view in terms of managing your load. Another cool feature that we have here that actually we don't have on our Business Central version of the VJS is that we use the resource skills. So if you put skills on your resources, so if you filled up their skills, we are able to show you which, well, who has which skill. So if I would say someone who knows the office equipment, then you see these hats appear on the resource view. So it tells me actually if I'm planning to schedule one job planning line, I should schedule it to somebody who actually knows office equipment really well. And those people who know office equipment have these hats here. And if it's like, you can also select obviously multi-skills. So I can see here who has the both office equipment and basic PC knowledge. So I find it quite strange that a lot of my software engineers don't have basic PC knowledge, but that's fine. But I can see here who has, yeah, well, one of my software engineers has basic PC knowledge. So, but in terms of software, one of my resources does not have basic PC software knowledge. So yeah, so you can also make use of the resource skills if that's very important for you when you schedule specific jobs. Yeah, so any more questions? I'm gonna go back quickly to my slides, and if we have more time, maybe I'll show you a little bit more. So far, no questions. Let me see. Yep. Um, So yeah, so we took a look at how you can actually make use of templates, which was the simple job I showed you, and we created a new job out of it, and you saw how it kind of seamlessly would show up on the VJS. And obviously, if you copied the quantities as well of the job planning lines, then it would be like sort of a carbon copy of your template. And we kind of map out as well, like where uh the when and the who of a particular job or job planning line. And obviously you have that fine tuning that we saw with the splitting of the job planning lines or the changing of the quantity within the VJS in NAV. So things to consider. So because you're on NAV, obviously at some point of time you may want to move to Business Central. We offer actually a migration package from customers who are on NAV to BC. So in case you're scared that, oh, you're offering NAV, but I'm moving to BC later on, maybe next year or late this year, then you always have that peace of mind wherein that if I move to Business Central and I want to use this is supposed to be VJS, but it's also applicable to the VPS. But so for the VJS, you only should pay the difference in the maintenance. So if you move from VJS NAV to VJS on Business Central, then the difference that you pay is very, very minimal. Another thing that you can consider is also that we offer a quick start package. So the quick start package is a 8-hour consulting and training where we offer also remote installation support and a 30-day proof of concept. So if you guys are not so sold on the idea of the VJS and you don't want to invest all of your money, then you can also do a quick start package. And for a lot of customers, this is good, but also for some partners who don't have a lot of experience with our products, I've also found this to be very advantageous for them. So they were able to learn a lot about our products, and at the same time, the confidence, and also they got to know us a lot. And I'm seeing this quite often now, that a lot of the newer customers, they want to kind of have this proof of concept first, to test the product first, before they actually make that commitment. So these are some things that are available, and obviously I mentioned the migration packages on Business Central. So any questions, guys? Yeah, so if you guys kind of like this webinar about NAV, about the VJS, we're actually having another event on Thursday, and that event will be about the visual production scheduler, but it will also be about the visual production scheduler on NAV. So if you guys are interested in that, then you can sign up on our website. And if you go to the upcoming webinars, then you can find the landing page there. And then so thank you very much for your time and for your attention. I hope this webinar has been kind of insightful for you, and I hope you guys learned a lot about how to use the VJS. In general, you guys can easily reach out to me on my email, and obviously you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. So yeah, it's a bit early, but I think I'm done, unless you guys still have any questions. So I don't see. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, all right, everyone. So I guess I will end it here. I will be sending the recording on your email, and you can also obviously watch it again on our YouTube channel, or share it with your colleagues. All right. Thank you.